ahead of you here. So just ahead of you, you see a cliff on the right-hand side of the passage here as you're continuing to move upwards around this big spiral. Above you, you can see this rickety bridge connect to the center of the giant pillar in the center of the shaft.
Okay. Well, I'll just keep going.
Okay.
And I will tighten the rope on the other end.
Hey, everybody who's using the rope to cross can make a dexterity acrobatics check at advantage.
Oh.
Do I have disadvantage at that because of heavy armor?
You have to have disadvantage to your stealth with heavy armor.
Ah. I still have a -1 to this roll.
That's a 13 for red.
13. No, red has no difficulty crossing. It's a little slippery and it's a little harrowing, but
18 for Raazu.
Raazu has no difficulty at all.
Yeah, it was a 13 for me as well.
I thought Windy was going to run along the wall.
I would, but Red said I should make Birdie feel good, and
Okay.
Wendy felt that was fair.
That's fine.
Is there enough space for Adrex to just simply fly over?
Oh yeah, more than enough.
All right, cool.
Can you bring the rope with you, Adrex?
The difficulty is there's no light source for Adrex to fly towards, and he can't see where he's going.
I thought Raazu already crossed.
Oh, I don't. Oh, okay, that's right. I didn't copy your guys' torches in. Yeah, Raazu, you can just fly to where Raazu's torches.
Okay, then.
Yeah, let
Even
me.
better. Yeah, Adrex will grab the rope then and fly on over.
Because
Okay.
Birdie doesn't have his rope anymore.
Does anything lead upward from here that I can see?
This bridge is overhead, and this ledge up here is as well. But no, you don't see where it leads upward from anywhere you've seen so far.
How rickety is this overhead bridge?
It looks like it's in pretty bad shape, but not as bad of shape as you would expect it if this ancient bridge had been left here. Like, you can see relatively recent repairs having been made to it. Looking at it from underneath, you see some of the boards are more fresh and not as rotted.
Let's take a look down this passage.
Okay. Looking down this passage, you take a few steps up into this narrow, kind of zigzaggy corridor. Here, you see where a wooden door has been affixed. A wooden doorway has been constructed in the stone and the earth around the side of the mine. And the door looks relatively sturdy, fairly recent in the sense that it's not rotted through. And there's a heavy iron lock keeping it locked. Mm-hmm. This other room you can see into. Looking into it, you see a pair of bedrolls thrown out along the floor. You see, well, you smell more than see when you step in. The smell of something dead. Not completely rotted, just like the smell of blood. And looking into the room, you do see a mostly butchered boar carcass is laying in the center of this room. And then there's also a footlocker against this back wall that is closed. You discover a couple of candles sitting out that are currently not lit. And you can tell that this room has been used fairly recently.
What size creatures the bedrolls for?
Your size. You could comfortably use this bedroll.
I want to listen at the door.
Listen at the door. Go ahead and make a perception check.
That's a 24.
24. You don't hear anything on the other side of the door, but a lot of what you're hearing right now is still the temper tantrum being thrown some 70 feet beneath you. But you're pretty sure that the room on the other side is empty.
Search for traps.
Okay, that's investigation.
Yep. It's 27.
You do indeed find a pinhole next to the keyhole. And you don't know for certain, but if this was your door, that's where you would put a poisoned needle.
Thieves' tools to disarm it.
Okay.
Tools. 17.
17. You're not going to be able to disassemble the trap, but you can set it off safely, having identified it.
Okay. And then Thieves' Tools to pick the lock.
Okay.
Like a very multi-step. Okay, I hit R and it still disappeared, so that's not my fault.
It's a 6, by the way.
You know, you can hit R and have it still disappear into the black void.
That would be a 15 on Thieves' Tools.
15. And you're able to pick the lock, but as you're picking it, you realize that this is a very masterfully crafted lock. Not masterfully crafted to the point where it could stand up against red, of course, but it's almost like somebody built this lock with great passion. And then you pick it open.
Okay.
You hear the click.
And I'll motion for my companions to get a little closer and open the door. And kind of hold up my finger to my lips, like, try to be quiet, which I know is pointless if Raazu was going to be there right there behind me, but hey.
Clank, 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 clank.
Open up the door.
Yep.
50 minutes to disrobe.
Steiner.mp3.
Looking into the room, it is a fairly well furnished living quarters. The earthen walls of the room are all covered with very faded and at once they were very vibrant and colorful, but now they're very faded and threadbare tapestries. Instead of a bedroll thrown on the floor, you see what looks like a hastily constructed 4-post bed with a straw mattress. There's a slight mildewy smell in the room, probably emanating from the mattress. Against the far wall, you see a couple of boxes with some personal effects and things strewn on top of them. Several changes of clothes for probably a humanoid male, tunics and breeches and whatnot. A couple of pairs of good boots. Against the back wall here, you see a weapon rack with some well cared for, nothing absolutely fantastic, but some standard weaponry. A couple of short swords, some daggers, a few quivers of good arrows. In front of the weapon rack, you see an anvil. All of the things you need to set up a smithery. Somewhere for the coals to get hot, you see the smithing tools, the tongs, the big vat of water. And looking at it, it looks like these perfectly serviceable but not very fancy weapons were made by whoever calls this their domicile. And the floor is covered with the furs of animals, so as to cover the stone.
Well, looks like at least 2 groups of people live here. At any rate, this isn't an exit, but feels like we're pretty close if they could hunt a boar and drag it down here.
Who would live here, aside from minions of this dragon?
That's what I was about to say, friends of the dragon, so.
Yeah. Nope.
Pretty meticulous ones,
though. Friends. That thing doesn't
like
have friends. It has servants.
I mean,
Like,
correct me if I'm wrong, Birdie, but those are no kobolds' quarters, are they?
Like,
No,
I don't know.
These bedrolls would be too big for kobolds.
Maybe the kobolds like to snuggle.
Maybe.
Did you ever like?
You could be right. It could be snuggling kobolds.
You could easily fit 2 kobolds in each of those bedrolls.
That'd be a good way to hide your numbers. You'd be like, oh look, there's only 10 bedrolls. Suddenly there's 20 kobold.
Kobolds lie on a bed diagonally like a dog.
60.
Should we
continue across this minecart or just climb the cliff and get up to the higher area?
So how bad a shape is this one in?
This one looks like it's in decent repair, actually. Kind of like the bridge you just walked underneath. You see a lot of the boards are fresh. You see a lot of the segments of actual track have been removed and moved away. So this bridge is very serviceable, but is very slick with a coating of frost and snow. And you can see many, many footprints leading away from your current position up along the track and out.
And Wendy will reach down and kind of like feel onto the bridge and just say, does this bridge look to you guys like it's a lot newer than the others?
Yeah.
Maybe they're not friends of the dragon because they didn't repair the bridge to the dragon.
Hey, Adrex, do you have any idea what these are footprints of? How old they are?
They're not footprints of creatures, they're boot prints. Heavy boots.
I think they're boot prints, Red.
What maker of boot? What's the survival check on that?
So
Doc Martens.
while they're
These were
talking
made
about
by
boots,
Donovan Bootmaker.
while they're in there, Birdie has walked in there and he has grabbed every quiver of arrow and slung it over his shoulder, and now he's just walking around.
I'm going to say you can't carry that many.
How many are there?
Quite a few. Half dozen
Okay.
at least.
Oh well, okay. No, I was gonna grab I'll grab 2, and then have them on my shoulder.
Okay, so Birdie comes back laden with these arrows. Yeah, there's 20 arrows in each of these quivers.
Cool.
I don't know who's gonna tell him not to, because I mean, like, Wendy's an Aarakocra. She barely considers like owning things a thing. Red's red.
Raazu rolls her eyes, looks at Birdie, and says, if we run into the owners of those quivers, you're going to be the one who's going to explain to them what you're doing.
Birdie makes another jerk off motion.
Yeah,
Raazu's a little smug. Raazu's a little
let's try
smug
moving
when she
across this
says
one.
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crossing the bridge,
okay.
the air gets colder and colder as you ascend, and you find the exits to the mines, peering out into the wastelands beyond. And you see the source of the snow that you've been spying. With heavy winds, the snow could just blow in through this opening and cover the entire back of the cave, which is what you had seen. Outside, you see a pair of long since dilapidated, ruined structures that are in no usable sense. They're completely ruined.
Roof's caved
Adrex.
in and everything.
The landscape you look out into is very familiar to you as just the blank and empty snowy deserts that you grew up in. You know that if you were to travel far enough south from this position, you would find the top of the cliffs that you just climbed up from the inside. And the further north you go, the colder and harder and more dragon infested it gets.
Adrex turns around to the rest of the party and goes, he spreads his arms out and goes, well, this is my home.
I thought your home was with us.
I mean, I was raised in a swamp, so I don't really... This looks fine to me.
I lived in mostly deserts.
Birdie points at Red and points because he also was born in a swamp.
And Wendy's from the top of a mountain, so this is actually pretty much home to her as well.
As you guys exit the mine, you're exiting in the dead of night. It's a moonless night. There are clouds hanging in the sky, but no natural light. Even the stars seem to be dimmer and further away this far north. There's currently no weather at all. Not even a small breeze. Really, it's actually kind of peaceful. But you see footprints leaving the mine and heading out into the wilderness.
How fresh do the tracks look?
Difficult to say because you're not sure how long it's been since it snowed. But nothing has disturbed them yet. If you make a survival check and to follow the tracks, that would be a thing you can do.
Can I make a wisdom check, Brickard? I'd like to try to remember what the heck that dragon girl told us about the journey she took to reach us. Because I remember a mine being present.
Yeah.
She told you that she had snuck through the mines and that she was told to not delve deeper than that, but she did anyway.
Was she told anything about where she went before the mine?
About crossing the wilderness?
Yeah.
You can't recall. You know that your destination eventually is a tower called Wizard's Folly, which is in this area somewhere.
Alright.
That's a 20 on survival.
Okay. You see out here, as you're looking around and following these tracks, kind of out beyond where this ruin is, you can see where a large fire pit has been dug out. And you can see this is where they initially butchered parts of this boar. Giant pool of now congealed and partially frozen blood lays along the ground. The pit is completely inert. There's nothing lit in it right now, but you can still feel a very dim warmth from it. You know that it was burning very brightly relatively recently. And the tracks move away from here and move off to... Actually, I'm not sure you can tell what direction is where right now.
Sky's too overcast. Sky's too overcast to determine like moon travel or anything like that.
You can't see the moon. It's a moonless night.
Okay.
But you can easily follow the tracks.
I'm gonna say, all right. There's a fire pit here. I say we take full advantage of it. Because I'm not setting out into the unknown with wounded as I am. I refuse.
Like you said, these shacks are unusable. How much of their walls are left?
Almost nothing. You can barely tell that at one point long, long ago these were structures. And you can see where part of this one especially, a lot of the wood that might have survived from it has been repurposed into this fire pit.
Well, let's start a
Is there
fire.
enough wood on the other one to start a fire?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of wood around to get the fire roaring.
Yeah,
No
Raazu
difficulties.
will help gather some choice bits of wood, and then bring it over here, and then drop her torch into it.
Okay. And you get the fire stoked, and it roars to life, and it's big and bright and very, very hot.
Adrex, do you have any idea what time it is?
Time to get a watch.
Nerd.
Could I use, I don't know, nature or survival to figure out, get a decent idea of what time it is? Or is it just
The dead of night.
night?
More than that, you
Dead
can't
of night?
tell. You've heard tales that if you go far, far to the north, farther than you've ever been, that night lasts for days and weeks and months on end. But you've personally never experienced that. But seeing how still and dark this night is reminds you of those tales.
I say we get a good bit of shut-eye in us before we keep going.
I mean, I wanted to take the last watch since I think I'm the least injured.
Well,
I
it
think
is-
that's the time.
It has not been 24 hours since your last long rest, so if you intend to take a long rest, you're going to be here for at least one entire day.
I can make do with a short rest.
Yeah, I can do a short rest too. I don't know how everyone else feels.
Raazu, she needs at least a day.
I mean, Raazu did take like 4 breaths fulls of acid, so I'm okay with that.
Take
You
a
guys
day for
are
Raazu.
Surprised there's anything of Raazu left. After all that acid. We've seen
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
We've seen
Yeah.
Raazu come back from the dead. We're not surprised
I mean, I
with
think-
anything regarding Raazu
Yeah,
anymore.
we
I think
dunked
if
her in a
anything,
vat of
this is-
acid.
This might be a good jab in Wendy's direction about Ostrom being a fake god, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like that's been heavily disproven at this point.
Yeah.
So you guys are taking the day?
Do we gonna do the whole day? It sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, here's the problem: is I can't spend any hit dice because I am out of hit dice until the end of a long rest.
Okay.
All right.
Raazu's running on fumes right now.
So something you should know about my home.
Yeah.
Adrex says very reluctantly, as if he's a
Adrex,
little
out with
embarrassed.
it. Out with it.
Mhm.
Might be some undead.
Like a lot of
around.
undead or some undead? Because we've dealt with some undead.
Like Birdie like holds up his hands, like he holds up the like 2 fingers.
Like 2 undeads?
Adrex
So
kind of
are we
makes like an
talking-
upward motion.
Like
Are we
Higher.
talking undead people or undead dragon?
5 undeads.
Undead within 60 feet, not under total cover.
They're in the snow. They're under total cover.
Fuck!
I mean, it'll be
No.
fine. We'll just have a girl stab him.
What about snowballs?
You can make snowballs. More importantly, if we're taking the whole day, That is 24 hours.
Is it just like, is it all snow, no plant life, nothing?
In the immediate area, yes.
If we're
So
gonna take a
before-
day, I wonder if like we should go hunting to refill Adrex's
Yes.
herbalism pouch.
So let's start here. Everybody go ahead and take the benefits of a short rest to get started.
Okay. Red doesn't need a rest, so while they're doing that for that hour, Red's going to go 60 feet outside of the edge of the fire, so it's outside the range of his dark vision, and he's just going to mark off a line in the snow at exactly that range, so he knows if anything gets within dark vision range, he has an exact idea where it is.
As far as Red travels in either direction, the cliff face of the mountain extends.
Mhm.
You can tell that you're at the base of either a solitary mountain or in the foothills of a larger mountain range that's perched atop what you had always considered to be the top of the world, from down in your swamps and forests and what have you. But you draw out a line. What I need from you guys are 3 watch rotations.
Adrex will take the first watch.
Red will take the last one. I don't want to be awake.
Birdie
Most
will.
likely to be awake when people show up.
Birdie will take the middle one. He's also in pretty good shape.
I'll take the watch with Adrex.
All right, so first watch, I've got Adrex and Windy. Who's taking the second watch? There's 4 watches in a night.
Birdie will take that one.
Birdie will take the second one. Raazu's taking
Raazu
the
will
third
take
one.
the third.
And Red is taking the last one. You're going to cycle this same... the
Yeah.
same watch for... Okay. Makes sense.
And Birdie's going to pull out the cooking pan he has and keep it with him.
So the first 2 cycles... I'm going to roll random encounters for those. It's this third cycle that's going to be your actual long rest.
Uh-huh.
I'm not getting any hit points back at the end of this long rest. I have to. I'm just getting hit dice back.
Raazu,
Hey,
partway through your watch, after Birdie has fallen asleep, the sky starts turning pink and orange far on the horizon. You can tell you're not long out from sunup.
mm-hmm.
And you start hearing a growling and slavering sound.
Raazu starts rousing people.
Raazu.
Yep.
And as Raazu rouses some of you awake, you see some scraggly and starved looking gray-furred wolves approaching from beyond some rocks that are out in your field of vision, probably drawn here by the giant fire that you've lit. These are just mangy and horrible looking critters. You can see their rib cages poking out in this time of famine.
It's breakfast, Adrex.
I'd
Red
love some.
pulls his bow off his back.
Unless we'd rather just run them off.
We don't have provisions. I mean, I'm out. I don't know about anybody else.
Ooh, that's a good point.
All right, anybody without provisions can't take a long rest.
Right, we've been borrowing them. Who had the extra?
I had
Adrex
some.
did.
I mean, these slavering wolves wouldn't necessarily be good eating, but there are 5 or 6 of them out there.
Yeah. Yeah, Red,
All right.
let's loose his bow.
Okay, so Red,
Well,
you and who's going out to hunt these wolves with him?
I'll go with him.
Adrex.
Okay, so between Red and Windy and Adrex, have one of you roll me a survival check. You can roll add
Adrex.
advantage because you've got assistance.
All right.
Oh,
I feel
come
like
on.
when I use R, it doesn't roll as well.
Is that what you feel like?
Yeah, that is what I feel like, and I'm gonna blip that because fuck that noise.
I'm with you,
Die,
Adrex.
die.
That's the way it should be.
That's a 13.
That's good.
13. Without giving chase, you do manage to put arrows into one of these wolves. As soon as you begin to approach them with weapons drawn, they start to slink off and scatter. But you manage to pull one of them down and drag it back.
Good enough for me.
And Adrex starts butchering this delicious-looking wolf. So now you have provisions for your long rests. Other than that, Raazu, your watch is uneventful.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Red, your watch takes place throughout the early hours of the morning. And you
That's
can see
exactly what I wanted.
more and more of your surroundings. And you do see just patch marks of foliage around, like a stray couple of trees off in one direction. Lots of weird rock formations that in the shadows of the night, just as the sun was coming up in the very early morning, you thought might be natural. But looking at them now, they're too starkly tall to be strictly natural. You'd have to get right up close to one to examine it to get more information. But you see a few dozen of these strewn about. It's from behind one of these that these wolves approached in the early hours of the morning. Other than that, Red's watch is also uneventful.
Can I do my long rest poison making now?
We're about to find out.
Okay.
The second round of watches, so all through the next 8 hours, all through the day, up into about mid-afternoon, are also uneventful. And now the long rest begins. And you guys can go ahead and take the benefits of the long rest, which will end on into the second night.
So there's 17.
You can do your poison making or your potion crafting or...
We should probably at some point make some more potions.
Yeah. I'm more concerned at the moment though with getting Adrex's herbalism kit refilled.
Yeah.
Adrex, what check is it to fill up your herbalism kit?
We've been using an herbalism check. I don't know that it's written down.
Go ahead and make that check at disadvantage, because the foliage is scarce. There's very little to make use of.
Would that just be proficiency then?
It's a standard herbalism check, just make it at disadvantage.
Herbalism is usually
I'll
wisdom.
make it.
Yeah,
I'm herbalism check.
Wisdom herbalism.
Okay,
I've been the one refilling your shit for you.
that's true.
That's a 18.
An 18. Wendy, we'll then say you spent the better part of the previous day before you came back to rest out doing this. And how far afield are you willing to travel?
I mean, I feel like I'm still faster than most things, so probably just about a mile.
Okay. And it takes you a lot longer than it normally does, and you're not 100% convinced that the herbs you found are as effective.
Yeah.
But you did the best that you could. You bring back, and Adrex manages to restock his herbalism kit. And then you all take the benefits of the long rest, which ends a few hours into the night. During this time, there's been no signs of anybody who made these footprints returning. But as the sun sets towards the end of the day, in the middle of Birdie's watch, it does begin to snow lightly.
Okay, Adrex, is it better to travel at the day or during night out here?
Well,
Adrex?
you got your pros and your cons, really.
Good
Six
chat.
of one, half a dozen of the other.
Really helpful, Adrex. Thank you.
Well, during the day, you can get snow blindness. There's just so much snow, you can go, and so much light that you go crazy.
Not worried about that one.
Okay. During the night, it's very easy to lose your direction. I mean,
So do
if you want, do you want to go now? We can go now.
I mean, I feel like
It's a harrowing trip regardless.
I feel like we have enough people good enough at navigation that I'm less worried about losing direction at night than snow blindness during the day. That sounds pretty bad.
The good news is now that you have
Windy.
a sun, you know what direction is which.
Day it is.
Are the undead more active during the day or at night? Or do they just not care?
They don't care.
Okay.
They're undead.
Okay, then. So one is just as good as the other. So then night it is. Let's go.
Are we following tracks or setting off in a particular direction?
I guess following the tracks would be the best thing.
Okay.
Following the tracks is a sign of life, theoretically.
Yeah. And they're boots, so that means that they're probably some kind of civilization up here.
Well, I mean, we saw their workshop and their slaughtered boar. It's a little weird. I mean, would that meat have rotted already? Feels like that's a long time for them to have been gone.
I mean,
It's cold, maybe it preserves better.
Maybe.
Would Adrex think there's any kind of civilization around here? Or would it just be the wasteland that he's familiar with?
A lot of nomads, orc and dragonborn tribes are fairly common. A lot of undead, like you say. In terms of, like, I mean, there's no large cities anywhere on the map that you've been.
Right.
Small villages at the most, but probably barely even that.
Okay.
Nomads and dragon hordes are the rule of the day. You guys follow the tracks for most of the night. Do we have anybody scouting ahead, or are y'all moving as one?
I don't.
Without my wings, I'm not good with scouting.
Yeah, I
can't-
feel like the range of my dark vision is a little bit too limited to really be useful.
I can't shout back to warn things, so what's the point?
My God, what have I done to this party?
Normally I would be scouting, but the fact that I'll be leaving visible footprints in the snow if I go back to the group, I don't really see the value of it.
As you guys follow these tracks, for most of the night, a couple of hours before sunup, you notice that the foliage gets thicker and thicker. You start seeing more areas of scrub brush. And in the far distance... Oh, it's nighttime. You can't see it in the far distance. Become more and more aware that there is more foliage as you go. You can see where... a couple times you cross frozen streams that zigzag across the path, these boot prints that have been created. The tracks become harder and harder to follow as the snow picks up and covers them in. Let's get one more survival check from somebody. If Adrex is making this check, he needs to do so at disadvantage because he does not have dark vision.
Can I do that? Because I am proficient in it.
You absolutely
I
can.
go for
And
it,
you do have
Raazu.
dark
Go
vision.
nuts. Go nuts.
I've got expertise in survival, just so you know.
Oh, bully for you! 23.
It becomes more difficult to follow the tracks, Raazu, but you're pretty confident that you're picking them up here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you do see a spark of light very far off in the distance. It looks like it's down beneath you, as though the land is sloping downwards into a valley. And
Looks good.
down there somewhere you see just the flicker orange of what must be a campfire from this distance. Or the beginnings of a forest fire, which would be equally funny.
Drop the torch below into the snow. I'll go sneak up and take a look.
I'll go with red.
Okay. I need both of you to make stealth checks. Individually.
I have
You
a
gotta beat a 20.
25.
25?
29.
29. The two of you sneak forward, and neither of you are carrying life swords. You drop the torch behind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, douse it.
You come down the slope of this valley, and you realize you're going down into a wooded area. You start seeing a few sparse trees here and there. And coming towards the campfire, you make out 3 shapes sitting around it. I'm sorry, not sitting around it, laying around it. One of which, the one nearest to you, is very large. We're talking bigger than Adrex large. But not monstrously huge. Like, it's not another dragon for sure. There's another figure off to its left, which is also laying on the ground. There's a third figure that is sitting by the fire. Very small, maybe Birdie sized. And you can see this one in the firelight, a small creature sitting there alert, watching his surroundings very carefully. He's taking watch. And in a circle around him, you can see in the firelight, he has a good dozen arrows just poked down into the earth, ready to fire.
What do we recognize? What kind of creature he is?
Not from this distance, just his general size.
Am I the only one who, when Bricker had said it's not another dragon, immediately thought it's another dragon?
I just like the idea of like Adrex as a unit of measurement.
It's about 2 Adrexes.
It's like comparing things to a football field.
Adreces.
That makes it sound too scientific.
But nobody's raised the alarm as you guys have gotten this close to it. You're pretty confident you could sneak all the way up on this campfire without them knowing it, as long as you don't shout or make noise or fire.
Yeah, I'll move closer to get a better look at the place. I don't want to quite get into like stabbing distance or anything, but if I can get up to the, be outside of the edge of the firelight, like with the foliage or whatever.
Okay.
I will follow.
The 2 sleeping creatures, you can't discern their race or what they are because they are completely covered and bundled in furs. One of them is very large, like I said, a little bit bigger and bulkier than Adrex, perhaps.
About the size of a Goliath?
Thereabouts.
Okay.
Maybe fatter than the Goliaths you've met, though. The second one that's laying on the ground next to him, humanoid. Your guys' size. The third one, the third creature, is also bundled in furs. He's looking around carefully. And you think you see the face of a goblin. But it's the wrong color. Where most goblins have like a pale flesh tones. Or like a tinge of green or blue. Like this goblin is pitch black. As though he's covered his whole face in charcoal. And so you can't make out any expression or details of his demeanor, but you can see his eyes glowing brightly in the fire as he's darting back and forth, keeping watch for his companions.
Do the other 2 have weapons or like packs anywhere?
Looking nearby, you do see some bundles on the ground. You see nearby where they have another boar strung up, along with a stretch of what looks like squirrels and hares and things, and also a ream of fish that they've managed to catch. You see some fishing equipment, spears, and a saw to saw through the ice. You do not see a weapon next to the big figure, but the smaller one, the human, I say small one, he's your size, humanoid size. You see this beautifully crafted, what looks like a scimitar. It has a bizarre curve to it. This was definitely not made as a combat weapon. This was made as like a decorative weapon. But it's laying on the ground in the snow, right in front of this creature that's laying down in the bedroll, under all these furs.
I think I'll slip back to the party then.
Okay. And at no point does this pitch-faced goblin cast its glare in your direction or give you any notice. Because you blew his perception out of the water.
Weird how Red would do that.
Yeah, it's kind of strange.
I mean, I rolled better than Red did.
Yeah, but you're naturally silent now. Unnaturally silent, I should say.
Does that mean I get advantage on stealth rolls?
And Red and Birdie come back and share what they have seen.
Birdie just gives another jerk-off motion.
I feel like we're getting the whole Birdie experience at this point. It took you a few weeks, but...
So what's next?
I mean, Adrex, I think it was your idea to follow the tracks, so what do you want to do?
Should we ask them where the tower is? Maybe they'd feel less apprehensive if we approach them in the morning.
All right.
Yeah,
Birdie,
probably.
Birdie holds up
That's
both his
actually
hands.
not a bad idea.
Birdie holds up both his hands in a wait gesture, and he says he makes walking motions, and he points at Windy, Raazu, and Adrex, and he makes a talking motion, and then he points at himself and Red, and he puts his hands in front of his face like he's hiding, and then he puts he pulls like and he goes like he's pulling on a bow, and then he makes like watching out gesture.
Does anybody else
What's he
get the
doing?
sense that Treble would make an excellent Kenku?
What's he doing?
I think he's suggesting that you walk up and distract them and...
No. Birdie shakes his head no.
2 words. First word.
He says talk. He's like talking, making the talking hand gesture, and then he's trying to make he's making a covering gesture.
Talk to the cover?
Birdie makes a jerk off motion again.
Who do you want?
We
to
all
cover
know
him?
that one. Okay.
How long... Anyone have any idea how... Damn it, that would be Birdie. How long magical silence usually lasts?
Can
I don't-
Hendrix make an Arcana roll?
Oh, before we go any further, I actually do need at advantage, a DC 16 Constitution saving throw from Birdie, Adrex, and Red.
Advantage. Is this against magic or a spell? Super advantage?
Yeah,
I think I did say it was against magic, yes.
Well, I passed either way.
If I get the benefit of Raazu, then I pass. If not, then I fail.
I'm ruling that you do not for this.
Okay.
Birdie,
Mhm.
reduce your max HP by 13, and after you woke up from the long rest today, you are exhibiting the symptoms of mummy rot.
Okay,
Still?
he didn't get infected after that, and he's still.
Like, do I need a bath? Is that what's going on?
Always, eternally.
5 points down. Birdie no longer has mummy rot.
Okay, that all happened today before you guys set out. And now you have to deal with these.
I just got my max hit points back. So, what I was trying to suggest is the two of us stand in the trees and hide where we can cover you while you speak to.
We know.
Okay.
Do we? Okay.
But I still feel like it would be better to just wait till morning so that we're
I
not.
think that's
ambushing
fair
them.
idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine, but I still think one of us, at least me, should hide.
Yeah,
in the
you
tree.
absolutely, Birdie. You stay behind and cover us.
Okay. And at first light, you see their firelight go out. As soon as the sun starts peeking up over the horizon, they douse their fire, and they're on the move. And
White flag, Adrex? Would that mean that we don't mean to attack them?
Or is
Up
that
here?
like a ice dragon thing? It'll mean we're gonna kill them.
I think it should be fine.
You should wave your wings. That's like double white flag.
Oh yeah, no, that won't intimidate them or anything. Dragonborn coming on just
Would
flapping his wings.
Adrex know that it wouldn't intimidate them? Would Adrex know that?
Adrex finds himself extremely intimidating.
so are you guys approaching them, or are you going to wait for them to approach you?
We'll approach them,
Okay.
I think.
And so Red and Birdie, you guys are staying behind to cover them?
No, Red's gonna go with the talkie group.
Well,
Birdie,
yeah, I'll
Go ahead,
stay behind.
Make a stealth check, please.
That is a 25.
25, okay. Let me get... Red, you have the highest insight of the group, right?
Yeah, Red's insight is passive or active?
Passive.
Passive insight is 21.
21. Okay. You guys approach these trio of hunters. You see the big man, who you now recognize as a bear man, like the one that you met in the Feywild, dressed in heavy furs. He's dragging this boar behind him. And you can see in his other hand he has a huge axe, a woodcutter's axe, the kind of thing that would be very, very helpful for breaking up magical roots in a mummy dungeon.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. The second one, you could tell was a woman. She looks like an orc. And her face is covered in metal piercings. Eyelids, nose, through her lip, through her cheek, dangling from her ears. She's also covered in heavy furs. And she has this ornamental-looking curved sword hanging from her side through just essentially a rope. The goblin is the one that catches Red's interest, because as you guys approach, when they see you coming towards them, they stop. You see the bear man let go of the dregs of the meat, so they're just laying in the snow behind him. And he rests one hand on his great axe. And the orc puts her hand on the hilt of her weapon. The goblin, Red, you notice his eye line passes you guys to where you know Birdie to be hiding, and he reaches back and touches an arrow in his quiver. But they don't make any motion beyond that. They just seem to be regarding you and watching the four of you coming down the slope into this valley.
And Red will call out in undercommon, or in common, "We don't mean you any harm."
The orc calls back, and in common as well. She says, "That's exactly what I would say if I meant you all harm."
What would you say if you didn't mean us harm?
That's a very good question. I like that question.
She calls back. She says that she doesn't know that she doesn't mean you harm. She's regarding you very warily.
I mean, Red will hold up his hands to show that he doesn't have his weapons out or anything at this point. He said, "Look, we just want to talk. We can do it across this distance. We don't, if that makes it more comfortable for you."
Adrex, are you still carrying brewing supplies all this time later?
You do get
No.
the replace.
No?
No, he lost a replacement too.
Oh, shit.
Was that another underwater brewing supplies getting dumped?
I think it was.
I think it was the
Yeah.
Yuan-ti city somewhere.
Something. I think it was. Yeah. He's replaced him twice and lost him 3 times. So.
You see the bear man stoop down and speak with the orc for a few moments. The orc, which one of you is carrying weapons but not holding them currently?
Raazu.
Windy.
Red.
Adrex.
Red,
So it's a yes.
Red, would your weapons be visible on your person though? Because you've got mostly daggers and stuff.
He still has a bow, 2 swords, 2 open daggers, and then a dozen hidden daggers, so.
Raazu's got her trident, her whip, and some javelins.
Adrex, what are you carrying openly?
It would probably be. You can see the whip and his longsword and the flame tongue.
The orc calls back and points at Adrex. It says, "You, the Iceling." She lays her ornamental sword and a great dagger from her boot on the ground. It says, "You can approach, unarmed." And then she waits for you to place your weapons in the snow.
And Adrex will comply. Takes off the whip. Disarms himself of the silvered longsword and
Are
his
you
flame tongue.
concealing any weapons, or is that it? Because if you are, she
No,
has a chance to
that's-
notice them.
No,
Okay.
not deliberately.
Right. And then she takes a few steps out in the snow so the two of you can meet in the middle.
And Adrex will actually completely disarm himself and drop his pack, which has his javelins and his axes in it too,
Okay.
and goes to meet this woman.
A loud thud as his pack hits the ground.
The first thing she says is she nods somewhere up in the general direction behind the rest of your group. She says that our man has spotted your fifth. Are you more than that?
No. What you see is what you got.
She says, even so, you outnumber us, so I will choose my words very carefully.
That's fair. I too shall choose my words carefully.
She says that her tribute to the Ice King is paid through next spring, and that his envoys are not to enter these lands, and asks if you're aware of this.
I've just... Well, no. And that's what Adrex says.
And she looks a little confused for a moment. Like,
So does Adrex.
so you're not one of the Ice King's sons.
Maybe. I listen. I haven't been here in a really long time. I don't know what's changed around here. We're looking for a tower, right?
You're looking for a site called Wizard's Folly.
We're just here. We're trying to get the Wizard's Folly. And Adrex gives a shrug.
She asks, what business have you with the Great Glimmer?
That's a good question. This was
Adrex isn't our envoy.
Yeah, no joke.
I don't remember. That's me, the player. It's just not remembering.
You've never heard the
was
term
something
the Great Glimmer before.
All right, cool. That makes this a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Adrex shrugs. I don't know. What's the Great Glimmer?
You see her kind of taken aback by your answer. She cranes her neck and looks back at your companions. You see her, she's regarding Raazu for a moment, especially Raazu. This is, you didn't come from the north. You traveled up from the bottom of the mines.
That's the way we came, yes.
How many were you when you came in? How many did Gadwinax kill?
Oh, is that the... Oh! He didn't kill any of us.
And she looks... Let's see if she actually believes you. She absolutely does not believe you.
Okay.
And she nods up at Raazu and she says that she can see the marks of his breath all over her armor.
Oh, he was mad. Don't get me wrong. He tried to kill us.
Did you try to steal from him?
No. And Adrex thinks about what he's about to say, and he can't believe words are coming out of his mouth, but we wound up pissing him off because we were mad at him at what we thought he did to this little girl. And so we wanted to show him a thing or two, and I can't believe we did that. That wasn't smart in retrospect. But that's okay.
She says, hold here a moment. She backs away from you several feet before she turns her back to you and makes her way back to her companions. You see they exchange a few more words. When she comes back to you, She asks if you have any coin.
Yeah? What's it to you?
She says they can make use of good coin from the Southlands. And then if you have any to offer, they have food, information. Wait, and she looks at your companions who are not particularly dressed for winter travel. She says furs as well, perhaps.
And let me go relay that information, Adrex says, and goes back and tells the party.
Okay.
Sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
They're not trying to extort us, right? I mean, even if they were, what good? You can't eat gold.
Fair point.
I gotta say though, for Mrs. I'm not sure I'm your enemy yet. Do you have any gold? Seems like a question that you get asked before you get robbed. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, Wendy's not wrong there.
She also did point out that we outnumber her.
I generally
they
try
do
and
know
distract
that-
someone with an unrelated question and then just, get the gold off their pouch without them noticing.
And
Yeah,
they do know
we all
that
know.
Birdie is hiding.
Come on out, Birdie.
Birdie trundles out, makes a jerk off motion.
And as Birdie trundles out, you watch as the little pitch-faced goblin follows him with his gaze.
Birdie looks at the little goblin and sticks his tongue out.
And a
wait
fight
a
breaks
minute.
out.
He's a tongue eater. I forgot.
Oh no, roll initiative.
At this point, the orc has gone back to her companions as well, and Birdie comes out of hiding and sticks his tongue out. Immediately, the goblin reaches back for an arrow, and the orc puts her hand on his arm and wrenches it back down into place.
Oh, they've got a Birdie too.
And a Raazu.
And Adrex goes back out and he says, Your offer sounds very good to us. We accept.
The orc tells you that the kobold's gesture was ill done. And then she introduces herself and her companions. She's known as Fingernails. The big man is Nedrick. When she says his name, the bear man bows his head slightly in regard for you. She says the little watchman is Grixnart. He had his tongue pulled out by the Ice King's Dragonborn. Literally, each of these NPCs has 2 lines of description telling me who they are.
Nice. Just happened to get his berserk button, huh?
Well,
Can I ask a quick question, Brick?
fairly good like that.
Would Adrex's god be referred to as the Ice King?
You could see it referred to in that way, considering it's
Yeah,
an ancient
okay.
white dragon that has frost breath. Actually, I can actually describe to you what his region is like. What a white dragon does to the lands around him.
Low quality shit, God.
That's a red dragon. You guys already fought red dragons. They're old school now.
Old hat.
A chilly fog obscures the land within 6 miles. Freezing precipitation falls in the air, and walls of ice block off areas inside the actual dragon's lair. This thing can create and destroy and shape ice as it sees fit.
Wait, Adrix, were we fighting a living god earlier? Birdie? A dragon that big? I didn't really think about it at the time.
Birdie shakes his head. Like if it was a black dragon, like compared to the other dragon, would Birdie be able to say yay or nay? Like the dragon he grew up around?
Let's resolve this first. Because nobody's saying it, but it's very heavily implied that Birdie has paid poor Grixnart great insults, and then an apology would go a long way to smoothing these relations over.
Well, I mean,
Oh, Birdie was cursed by our enemies to not be able to speak. So,
yes, the enemies did it.
if I need to roll a bluff, I will.
When you give that explanation, you see a smile curl on the little goblin's lips. And you guys begin the long journey back. So to answer your question, yeah, the Black Dragon Gadwin X is ancient beyond memory. He used to have a much stronger stranglehold over these lands, and all of the nomadic tribes in the area paid him tribute. But recently, and when they say recently, they mean recently in dragon terms, easily before any of their lifetimes, the Great Glimmer had cause to essentially neuter the Black Dragon Gadwin X, and more or less imprison him in this mine.
Who or what is the Great Glimmer?
They tell you that the Great Glimmer is the Golden King. He's the reason they have use for Southland coin.
That.
Should we establish what we're going to pay you now so there's no hard feelings in the end?
They say that there's a long journey ahead of you. And I need 2 insight rolls. Tell me who's making the rolls. Each, I'm going to say these are going to be made individually. And the same person cannot make both of them.
I'll go ahead and do the first.
Okay.
Adrex thinks he's found new friends, so...
Yeah, I'll roll an insight.
Okay, so Red, that's your... What's that,
Yep.
an 18?
The 18 becomes a 29.
And I've got a 23.
Okay. Red, listening to them, the conversation, these are general huntsmen. These are not great adventurers. They've not won any great glory. In all likelihood, they're exiles from their various tribes, considering they're like a kind of motley crew here.
Like a lot of us.
The 3 of them pretty much know for a fact whose side the battle will go to if it comes to blows. The 5 of you versus the 3 of them, that doesn't look good for them. Windy, they tell you a little bit about the Great Glimmer. They describe a golden god who lives in the area of Wizard's Folly. A place that... They describe it as a place where gold can buy anything. This golden god desires coin and other shiny treasures. Gold specifically, and above all things. They describe the ventures into the outskirts of this territory where they can feel the greed seeping into their own bodies, making them also desire it. They give these lands a wide berth and do not venture into them.
Sounds wise.
However, the subjects and servants of the Golden God have a great number of treasures that they can trade for with coin. And it's not common that they come across it.
Does this sound familiar to Adrex at all?
Raazu
no.
starts stroking her chin.
No?
Leans into Red
it's
and
Mammon.
says, whispers to... Okay. Well, never mind. Raazu's going to play that close to her chest, but I guess not.
So Wendy's just blurting it out.
Yeah, well, Winnie doesn't see any reason to hide it.
And
That we've heard of this god before.
Nedrick and Fingernails, they exchange glances and they look a little confused. And she tells you that no, they've never heard the name Mammon before.
Oh, we think we might have heard it in the past, but maybe it's someone else.
Have you ever run into a gold mafit?
They do not know what that is.
Could be someone else.
They
be
are
someone
very
else.
interested in
Could be
hearing
someone
about
else.
this.
I'll describe the gold mafits.
So you
Little
described
demons.
that you had little goblin, like gremlin creatures that infested your coin purses before? That
And
flew-
exploded into a shower of liquid gold when they died, burning us. Yeah.
And Fingernails
Yeah.
makes very clear, and these creatures live in the pouches that you're going to pay us from.
We dipped them underwater and opened them first. They can't survive the water, so... If you want, we can open our pouches some distance from you. It's not always entirely safe.
And for the first
Pretty
Oh, we
time,
may
big
also
mess.
pissed off an emissary of this god by killing them.
That
So
part
it's
Wendy was
not
going to keep close to her
killed an
chest. So Wendy kind of shares a glance with Raazu, like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page, Wendy.
After it's been torn out of the book.
Yeah.
As you guys go through some of this explanation about the gold mephits, etc., you hear Nedrick speak for the first time since you've walked. And all he says, kind of to himself gruffly, under his breath, he just says, Southlings. That's where we'll take our break for
That's
today.
fair.